Hey guys, welcome back to the Bay Area Sports Addiction. My name is Alex, and today we have a very special guest joining us, staff writer for Inside the Birds, covering the Eagles, Andrew DiCecco. You can find him at A DiCecco NFL on Twitter. Andrew, welcome to the pod. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for having me, man. Good to be with you.
All right. Well, today we're going to be covering the NFC Championship game between the 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Andrew, in leading up to this game, has there been any key weaknesses that you think the opposition, but either side, the 49ers or the Eagles, may be looking to key in on moving into this game?
Oh, good question. So I'll look at it from both teams' standpoints, right? From the Eagles' standpoint, I think that they're going to look to threaten downfield. When you look at DK Metcalf in the wild card round, and you look at what CeeDee Lamb was able to do last week, they combined for 20 receptions for 253 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think you might see A.J. Brown become a factor this week. I also think they might take a deep shot with Quez Watkins, who's been sparingly used the past few weeks. I think Travaris Ward and Diamador Lenore, they're okay players, but they're about 5'10", 5'11". They don't have the length or the ball skills as a Devontae Smith or an A.J. Brown. So I think you might see them kind of threaten downfield and try to win that way, because the Niners' run defense, as you know, is very stingy and they suffocate teams. I don't think they've allowed a 100-yard rusher since Justin Fields, if I'm correct on that. So it's going to be tough. Now the Eagles are going to have to keep it balanced. They're going to have to try, but that's where Jalen Hurts comes in as the +1, which puts unique stress on defenses, as you know. For the Niners, I think the Niners should try and get George Kittle going over the middle of the field and try and take advantage of the Eagles linebackers. For me, I think if you look at the top 4 playmakers that you guys have, I would say Kittle's probably the most not the most explosive, but the one where I think can really set the tone. He's physical after the catch, kind of invigorates the sideline, injects a lot of energy there, runs people over with the stiff arms, and I think that he just has a unique skill set where he can exploit linebackers if they're not on their keys, reading their keys. So and then it opens things up for Debo and Brandon Ayuk and McCaffrey and all those guys. So they might try to target the Eagles linebackers in that second level and then kind of work their way out from there. The Niners are unique that they don't really take a lot of shot plays, and you can speak on that more than I can. But I think if they do, it's Brandon Ayuk, and you might sparingly see Ray McLeod do that. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but I think those are the points of attack for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's funny. I had some of those points written down, like almost word for word. But yeah, I think as a 49ers fan coming from the 49ers side first, I think the 49ers are going to look to run the ball early and often. Eagles rush defense, 21st in DVOA, defense adjusted value over average. I think that's going to start getting the Eagles linebackers to look into the backfield. They're going to be coming down once that run game gets established. And like you said, George Kittle is going to be finding some open space, in front, unless the safeties are playing up in man. They're going to find that open space, just soft spot right behind the linebackers. Ayuk gets hit there a lot of the times, and Purdy's pretty good at hitting those throws when they're open. Again, Eagles do run a lot of man coverage, 5th most in the league. And obviously that's because they have very, very strong players on the outside. Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson,
James Bradbury.
James Bradbury. First in pass defense DVOA. Just obviously they have studs out there. I think that the 49ers are going to need to attack this with quick screens and make those DBs tackle. Getting the ball in the hands of Debo, in the hands of Kittle is gonna wear them out early, and when the run game gets established too, then like you mentioned, they might throw a shot play in there every once in a while. That's the Shanahan special. But Yeah, I'd say that for the 49ers, that's going to be the way to go. You mentioned from the Eagles standpoint, I think they are going to attack the secondary. The safeties that the 49ers have, especially Talanoa Hufanga,
Yeah, he's a good player.
They're super aggressive in the run game. So they like to come down and sometimes, attack. They're going to be attacking Jalen Hurts in the backfield, but that may leave openings for an AJ Green, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. And you can see they've had a few blown coverages too every here and there. Happened, I think it was like the first drive of the Sunday night football game against the Chargers. It happened a few times in that Raiders game in the end of the regular season. That was pretty brutal to watch, but yeah. And like you mentioned, DK Metcalf in the wild card round kind of gashed them. I think at the time Ward was playing man and he just beat him. Straight line speed will beat these guys. And yeah, I think the Eagles they're gonna try to make Purdy throw. I think they're probably gonna start stacking the box. They're gonna see what he's really made of, and make him hurt them, especially with the guys that they have in the secondary. I think they're gonna bet on themselves over Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, moving on to our next question here. Do you have a favorite storyline maybe that you're looking forward to seeing play out in this NFC Championship game?
Well, I like to see the two young quarterbacks go head to head, and the league right now is in such a great place, Alex, in that there's so many young quarterbacks that are really becoming the face of the NFL. Not saying Brock Purdy's there yet at all, but I just want to see two young guns go at it and see what they're able to do on this kind of stage, right? I mean, Jalen Hurts is the quintessential leader. His desire to win has been sort of compared from Coach Nick Sirianni to Michael Jordan, just in the way that he prepares. He's obsessed with winning is the way that he phrased it. And I want to see what he's able to do in a game of this magnitude. And I want to see what he's able to do when he's going to have the opportunity to throw the ball down the field. Because you saw it last week, if there was any concern over his throwing shoulder, that was alleviated on the second play when he threw a perfectly placed pass in the arms of Devontae Smith. And those are the plays that Jalen's made all year. So I want to see what he's able to do against a tough test. This is the toughest team the Eagles have faced all year. I said it on the radio this week. These are the two best rosters in the NFL. Certainly you can make a case for top three at least. And I want to see what they're able to do against this kind of competition. So competition always breeds results, and we'll see what they're made of this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm liking that Purdy versus Hurts matchup as well. The last time these two quarterbacks faced off against each other was in college. Jalen Hurts and Oklahoma defeated Iowa State and Brock Purdy 42-41. Both quarterbacks over 330 total yards and 5 total touchdowns each. So that will definitely be a fun rematch to watch. Personally, I'm really looking forward to this Coach of the Year battle. Both these guys nominated for Coach of the Year for very different reasons. Nick Sirianni took this Eagles team, and they've been the number one team in the league all year long. With just Jalen Hurts in the lineup, only one loss, that loss to the Commanders, and then Shanahan ending the year on a 10-game win streak after starting off 3-4 with a third string quarterback having to go through those injuries. Emmanuel Mosley, our starting cornerback, also out for the season, and I think just what both of these coaches have been able to do. These are the two best teams in the NFC, and I'm glad we're going to be able to see it play out tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on to the next one here. I just want to hear it from you. Knowing that you were at the playoff game last week, what do you think the atmosphere at the Link is going to be like, and how do you think it's going to affect the game? Maybe Purdy in particular, or Anything that you think might be a factor?
Well, last week's atmosphere was electric, right? I mean, and we're talking 6 hours, 8 hours before the game. Everyone's, there's something special brewing here in the city with the quarterback and the head coach dynamic, going to the playoffs 2 years in a row. And I think that this Eagles team has just given this city so much hope and enthusiasm, and it really was it really transpired before the game, and the crowd was into it early. The Eagles got on the board early, and the crowd was with them every step of the way. But this week's going to be unlike anything that anyone's ever seen. You're going to be able to feel the energy through the screen. The game that I keep hearing about is the 2018 NFC Championship game where the Vikings came to Philly, and that was the loudest a lot of people have said they've ever heard the stadium almost shaking. So I don't know how Brock Purdy will fare against pressure or loudness, and it's not just an energy that is like a friendly type of. This is like a hostile environment, right? There's two different kinds of it, and you've been to Philly plenty of times. You know how it is. And they get behind their Eagles, and they're going to get there early, and knowing that they're one game away and knowing the situation, the 7th-round rookie quarterback, they're going to bring it a little bit more. And I don't know what's going to happen with the coin toss, but I think if the Eagles have the option, they might want to take the football, get on the board early, and then have that crowd get them even more invigorated. And then it's sort of then the defense is able to sort of pin their ears back. That's kind of how I envision like the crowd playing into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that you mentioned that there's a difference in this Philly crowd, that it's more of like a hostile loudness. Yeah. Because I was planning on mentioning that Brock Purdy's first away start for the 49ers was in Seattle, which is known for being a loud stadium, but I wouldn't say it's as hostile as these Philly fans can get. But we'll have to see if it affects his communication and maybe situational awareness. I know he had a little bit of a situational lapse at the end of the first half last week against Dallas. Kyle Shanahan kind of got on him for just barely getting that throwaway off so that we could get a field goal at the end of the half. But we will see how it affects him. All right. Next question is just going to be, what are the keys to victory for either team in this game tomorrow?
Well, I'll look at it from both teams' perspective. I think if you're the Eagles, you got to take care of the football. I think that goes for either team. But you want to start fast against the Niners, because if you keep it close throughout, I think that sort of plays to what the 49ers are really good at, that gritty, grimy, closely contested games. I think that favors their defense and what they're able to do. You guys have been in a lot of close contests and are able to kind of handle and withstand the storm a little bit. So I think it's important that the Eagles get on the board early and sort of build that confidence of the crowd and get them going. Because if the Niners score first, that sort of takes the crowd out of it, right? And all of a sudden, that home field advantage, it's still going to be loud, but it's not quite as loud as it ordinarily would be. I think the Eagles need to force a turnover on Purdy, because you got to take advantage. You got to take advantage of it. The Niners have 4 bona fide studs at the skill position, and they can score from anywhere on the field. Their open field tackling is extremely paramount in a game like this, strictly on guys like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, because they can easily turn a 5-yard reception into 25, 30, 40 yards, if not more. So that's going to become essential in this game. And I think for the 49ers, they want to kind of keep the game, have Brock Purdy be more or less a game manager. Don't put too much on his plate, because you don't want him pressing in a game of this magnitude. That's when mistakes are sort of magnified. And let your rely on your playmakers. Get Christian McCaffrey going. Get Deebo Samuel going. The guys that have got you here, I think you need to remember and take a little bit off of Brock's plate and get those guys in open space, and then make the Eagles tackle. The Eagles struggled with open field tackling for much of the early part of the season. They were actually one of the worst in the league in that area. So I think that they just need to let Brock Purdy be who he is, get the ball to their playmakers, and take advantage of what the Eagles defense is letting them do. And that sounds like a simple key, but a lot of times quarterbacks feel compelled to put the game on their shoulders and try to do too much instead of taking what's in front of you. And I think sometimes you might find a young quarterback pressing. So I think that would be the key to victory. Just simplify the game plan and utilize your playmakers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll start looking at it from the 49ers side of the ball. I know this is a basic one, but I think we got to have clean special teams. Last week, Ray McLeod had a fumble on a punt return, kind of set up. It only ended up being a field goal, but that won't be a field goal this week against the Eagles. That they're too good. We can't give them ball in plus territory for them. Another one, establish the run early and often, I think is going to be Kyle's mentality here. I think he trusts Purdy, but I don't know if he's going to be, come out guns blazing right away. So I think it's going to be establish the run, make them honest, because if they're just dropping back in man coverage and they've got all these playmakers on the outside, it's going to be hard to make plays if we're down, because they'll know it's coming. I think big time players on both sides, like you mentioned, are going to have to step up. The George Kittles, the Deebo Samuels, Christian McCaffreys, they're going to be going up against probably, besides the 49ers defense, the best defense all around in the league. You mentioned it, when the turnover battle was another key. Both teams, I think whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win the game. So that means not turning the ball over if you're on offense, and obviously taking the ball away if you're on defense. Pass rushers for the 49ers are going to have to stay in their rush lanes as well, with Jalen Hurts' scrambling ability. And then that's going to lead into no dumb penalties. I know in that first game of the year is so tough to watch as a 49ers fan. Just seeing Justin Fields scramble out and then get on a 3rd and 15, getting a first down like every single time. And then on top of that, running into him after he slides, because he's such a good athlete. He can get down right away, and then there's nothing you can do. It's another 15 yards on top of that. Those are real backbreakers. So you're going to have to play a clean game. And then on the defensive side of the ball for the 49ers, going to have to stop the run for the Eagles. The Eagles in losses this year actually averaged only 82.7 yards, rushing yards per game. And in wins, they actually almost doubled that with 161.5 yards per game. So I think part of that is going to be, obviously, in 2 of their losses, Jalen Hurts didn't play. But I think the key is going to be just stopping the run in general. If they get their run game going, it's going to open up a lot more things in the passing game. And obviously that's probably going to be, if the Eagles do win, it's going to be those guys on the outside, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. They're great route runners, and A.J. Brown specifically, also a very physical guy. And he's also great with the ball in his hands after the catch. So we're going to have our hands full, definitely, on the back end. And you mentioned it, 49ers path to victory, make it ugly. This has got to be a close game. I'm not saying that Dallas is up to par with the Eagles, but the 49ers do have experience. Now Purdy has 2 games under his belt in the playoffs, but they were ugly games. We're down at half to Seattle and a close one till the end against Dallas. So I think the key for the 49ers is going to be making it ugly. But yeah, that's it for me.
Well, you mentioned something really interesting. So I want to pose this question to you. You mentioned pass rush. So I want to sort of highlight 2 of my matchups to watch that I think could well determine this game. And then I want to kind of flip it back to you and hear what you have to say. I think Mike McGlinchey is going to struggle against Hassan Reddick. The Eagles pass rush they've racked up 70 sacks, amazingly, throughout the season, and they have a healthy rotation of pass rushers. But then looking at it from the Niners' perspective, I think Nick Bosa, he can rush from both sides. which is a plus. But I don't think that the Niners are going to want him to rush against Lane Johnson, who's arguably the best in the business of what he does. I think that he could find some success rushing against Jordan Mailata, who has given up quite a few pressures this year and has been a little bit more susceptible to players like a Nick Bosa and players of that skill set. So I think that could be a game within the game, just those two matchups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. I think a lot of people have been ragging on Mike McGlinchey lately. He's not the greatest pass blocker, but he's above average in run blocking, which is always great with Kyle's scheme. He likes to run the ball a lot. But over these past few games, he has been playing really well in the pass blocking game as well. It will be a challenge. He's not played against a defensive line like the Eagles. These guys they're big, they're strong, they're fast, and they're deep. He may be facing fresh guys every single play. And I may be mistaken here, but Hassan Reddick he used to be on the Cardinals. So
Cardinals and Panthers, yeah.
Cardinals and Panthers. So I think McGlinchey was able to face him in the past. I'm not entirely sure how well he did in the past, but I do agree that's going to be a matchup to watch, considering the San Francisco offensive line on the other side with Trent Williams. I don't know if you saw any of the highlights last week, but even some of the best, Micah Parsons, couldn't do a whole lot against Trent Williams.
Yeah, I voted for him for all NFL for PFWA. They've been incredible this year.
Yeah, but on the other side of the ball, the Eagles' offensive line, from starting in the middle with Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson on the right side, Mailata on the left. These guys this is probably the best offensive line in the league. And the Niners do have a lot of top end talent on the D line, but the depth may not be there. So plays where Bosa and Armstead aren't on the field happen to be plays where the 49ers get gashed in the pass game. So we will have to see how that plays out. Especially with, I don't know if you heard the news about Charles Omenihu.
I did.
And those charges that were brought against him. The 49ers.
Play? Do you think he's going to play?
Yeah. So I think what Shanahan was saying is that they're going to keep him on the team and on the roster until an actual ruling comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But as of right now, he's slated to play.
How about Elijah Mitchell, Alex?
He's questionable. We'll see what happens. I know it was lower body, which he's had a few lower body injuries. He missed a lot of time with an MCL this year, or maybe it was a meniscus, but it was something in his knee. Missed a few games. Same thing happened last year. He missed games for lower body injuries. He also had a shoulder. He does seem to get banged up a lot, and the 49ers did elevate Tevin Coleman off the practice squad.
Okay.
So he may get some touches. I'd personally like to see Jordan Mason get touches as well. He's UDFA, but he has surpassed the third-round draft pick that we had this year on the depth chart. But I think a lot of it's going to be CMC. I like when CMC is in the game because it brings a new dimension. Because he obviously can come out as a pass catcher, which maybe Tevin Coleman could, but we haven't really seen that out of Jordan Mason. But if Elijah Mitchell can play, that'll definitely be a big plus for the 49ers. He is an incredible downhill runner.
Yeah, I liked him a lot at Louisiana Lafayette.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, do you have a final score prediction for this game?
Yeah, and I've been consistent with this throughout the week. I'm going to say the Eagles win this game. It starts out, I think both teams get on the board early, but I think it sort of unfolds like a heavyweight slugfest, really, like two boxers feeling each other out throughout the game. And I think the Eagles win this one 24-20.
Mm-hmm. That's really funny because I have it the exact opposite way. I have 24-20 San Francisco.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it looks like we're both going to be under that 45.5 point line that the sportsbooks have been putting out. I figured, it's probably going to be the same way. It's going to be a slugfest, feeling each other out. Like we kind of mentioned earlier, if it's a dirty game and there's not that many points being scored, I think that favors the 49ers. So
it does. Yeah, I agree.
We will see how that plays out. And then last thing, can you give me a prediction for who the winner of the NFC Championship might be playing in the Super Bowl?
Oh, yeah. I before the playoffs, man, my prediction was Philly, Cincinnati in the playoffs, in the Super Bowl. So I'm going to stick with that. And I don't know that anybody really would want to play Joe Burrow right now because he's playing at such an incredibly high level. So I don't even want to get into that far down the road, kick the can that far down the road. But I have the Eagles and Bengals in the Super Bowl. How about you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also have the Bengals winning that game. Joe Burrow, he's just a big time player and he's up to the task. Some quarterbacks might fold, knowing they're going up against Patrick Mahomes, but Patrick Mahomes with his high ankle sprain, we'll see, how he comes out. His biggest asset is his ability to extend plays and then be a playmaker outside of that. And if his ankle is going to be slowing him down, may force him to be more of a pocket passer, which, he's still a great quarterback no matter what, but it takes away just one of the better elements of his game. I know that the Bengals O-line was a little bit of a question about whether they would be able to hold up in Buffalo with three backups in. They were completely fine. Maybe it was because it was snow all over the ground. The pass rushers couldn't get, as much of a running start, but they're going to have to try and stop Chris Jones, all pro interior D lineman. He's just a beast. But yeah, I also have the winner of the NFC Championship game playing the Bengals.
All right. That's a good answer.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us very much, Andrew. And if you liked any more of this Bay Area Sports Addiction content, please like and subscribe on YouTube. We're now available on Apple Music and Spotify. And we will see you next time.